What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you're well. My name is Mark, and today we're covering some more r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below, but if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. Now, thank you as always for being here, for taking the times out of your days to come here and watch these videos. It's absolutely amazing of you to do so, and for more recently, for telling me what you've been doing whilst you've been listening to these. As I said in one of the last videos, I find it crazy that my voice is playing in multiple places at once, like all over the world. Well, not all over the world, that's a bit exaggerating really, but in different places, and I find it really crazy. So keep telling me those things, please. It's really inspiring. And with that being said, let's just crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. And our first story comes from November Rain. Am I the arsehole for telling my ex-wife to F off and not allowing her to talk to our kids? Please read before making a decision. I have 5 kids with my now ex-wife. 7 female, 5 female, 2 male and 2 male, and a 7-month-old baby boy. When my ex was pregnant with a baby, she decided that she didn't want to be involved with me or the kids anymore, so she divorced me and signed all her rights away. The only reason I know she's still alive is the child support checks that I get. My kids are obviously still upset over their mum just getting up and leaving without even giving them a heartfelt goodbye. My oldest has expressed being cross towards me regarding the situation. Since she's the only one that truly understands that her mum probably won't come back, she feels abandoned and has come to me crying, because she believes that her mum doesn't love her anymore. My other daughter still believes that her mum is going to come back, and it really hurts to hear her ask when she'll be back. My other kids obviously don't understand where their mum has gone. All I can truly get from them is tears and asking where their mum has went. Just to be clear, I don't badmouth their mother or say bad things in general about her to them. Yesterday my ex called. I only picked up because I didn't recognise the number. She said hello and asked if she could speak to the kids. I said no, mostly because I didn't know how they would react. She said that she missed them terribly and because of COVID couldn't see them, and she really wanted to hear their voices. I said that I wasn't comfortable with that. I told her that I would talk to my oldest 2 later on and asked if they wanted to speak to her, but for now I wouldn't allow it. She said that she was still their mum and that she has the right to speak to them. I said that she lost any right to them when she signed those rights away. At this point, my wife raised her voice and said I was keeping her away from the people she loved most. I said that I didn't care about her feelings, that she abandoned the kids and to F off like she did months ago, before hanging up. My kids weren't in earshot, just to be clear. I'm not proud of losing my temper, because I'm not that kind of guy, but I was at my wit's end and couldn't take it anymore. I still have my mother-in-law as one of my contacts because I don't have anybody else to care for the kids if something happens to me. All night she's been blowing up my phone, saying that my ex-wife is still a mother and has a right to talk to her kids. I don't know. I'm tired. Honest opinions? Wow, that's an incredibly sad story to know that she just walked out, just got up and left because she was totally fed up of the whole situation. A part of me wants to say there's something mental going on. Obviously, I'm no doctor or anything, but PPD or some sort of mental illness going on for someone to just get up and walk out on your kids like that sounds a bit messed up, really. But in some ways, I also feel like we're missing some information, because unless it is a mental illness or something, which then needs to be resolved, why would a mother of 4 children just suddenly get up and just walk out the door? That sort of doesn't make sense to me, but you know, stranger things have happened in this subreddit, believe me. But purely based on this story, I would say not the arsehole, and the father's probably doing the right thing by letting the oldest 2 decide. Whether or not 7 and 5 is right to make that decision, I think it'd be interesting to know their take on it, because obviously the 7-year-old has some feelings about what's going on. But let's have a look at the comments below to see what they say. Queen Oreo said, she signed her rights away. It is your absolute duty to keep your kids safe mentally, physically and emotionally. You decide if it's okay for her to speak to them. If you don't feel it's good for them right now, then your answer is final. You absolutely need to get your kids into therapy though, and should probably talk to someone yourself. This is a hell of a lot to deal with. Right now might be the wrong time for them to speak to her. At some point, it might be the best thing for them. Cheerily Terrified says, info, did something happen to your wife that made her walk away? Like, do you think it was drug or something long term that she could come back from? Not the arsehole, your wife can't come and go as she pleases. That is horrendously unfair to your kids, who need and deserve consistency, and a lot more than she is giving. Yeah, yelling is not ideal, but you are human and dealing with a lot, so you're not the arsehole for that. Is there anyone who can help you with the kids besides your ex-mother-in-law? Also, the kids and you definitely need therapy. They've been through something traumatic. And OP replies to this saying she was always a very wild person. She could never handle long-term commitment, and while she wanted kids, didn't spend time with them because I was the stay-at-home parent. She just didn't like the responsibilities. And Zajaf says, info, could it be PPD? It seems strange that on child number 5 she just gets up and leaves. And OP replies again saying, I don't believe so. I've read up on the symptoms because that thought crossed my mind before, and she doesn't match up on anything. Plus she's up and left, back when we were dating and didn't have children. Wow, so what do you guys make of this story? Can you make anything of it with, potentially missing bits of information, but based on what we see right here, what do you make of it? How would you deal with it? Do you think it could be PPD? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 1. And our next story is from Oh Grey, you arsehole. Am I the arsehole for calling out 2 ladies for being creepy at the grocery store? I was in line at the grocery store picking up a turkey and fixins. The lines were long due to Thanksgiving, and not to mention everyone trying to hoard toilet paper. Line was about 4 transactions deep when this incident happened, with me being the 4th person in line. Anyways, in line in front of me were 2 30-something ladies, then 2 other random people in spot 2 and 1, and of course the cashier. The 2 ladies in front of me were whispering to each other quite loudly about the young male cashier's good looks. Nothing crude, but loud enough for me and at least the 2nd person in line to hear. As the line moved forward, the cashier had to stand up on a stool to grab some cigarettes from the top of the cigarette case. As he was reaching for the cigs, the 2 ladies quickly pulled out their phones and snapped the picture of his butt. They pretty much high-fived each, while each saying loudly, "Did you get that? I got that." "Damn right I did. Send me yours and I'll send you mine." With a normal voice I said, "Do you think that is okay to do that?" They whipped around with shock and both a "who the fuck are you" look on their face. Then one said, "Excuse me?" I said, "I watched you both took pictures of that young man. Kinda creepy." They said, "So what?" and moved up to the checkout. Of course the cashier had heard all the commotion and has no idea what to do or say, so he just sheepishly starts scanning the lady's groceries. I mentioned again that what they did was wrong, and I'm certain that if the roles were reversed and the cashier was a young girl and then 2 men snapped pics and you'll just happen to be me in my vantage spot, you 2 would be calling 911 and screaming bloody murder. Am I right, or am I right? About now, other people in line and around the checkout line are already listening in and seem to be in agreement with me. Then the ladies flipped it on me. "What are you doing watching us? Who does that? Oh my god," and started acting like the victim. They paid and ran out while loudly calling me a creep. As soon as they were gone, all eyes moved to me and pretty much everyone forgot that they were the baddies and started looking at me like I just ripped a big old fart in the line. How did I become the arsehole? Am I the arsehole? Nope, you're totally not the arsehole and you're totally right in everything you said. At the end, they were using just a deflection tactic just to get out of there, and yeah, they made you look like an arse, which is just not on. You should have shouted back to them, "You're the one who was taking the bloody photo in the end." Male, female, no one deserves to be sexually harassed at work, and good on you for standing up and calling out. You wasn't shouting, you just normally said, "Do you think that's okay to do that?" You were questioning them, and we need more people like that in the world. It's just the way it is. But Logan DeLuca says, "Not the arsehole. What you did was really amazing. What the women did is creepy as fuck." Cricket says, "Not the arsehole. They were trying to save face and you are 100% in the right." The Incredible Ape says, "Definitely not the arsehole. They were being creeps and tried to pull a know you as a smokescreen while they made their escape. You did the right thing. Thanks for speaking up." Lisa says, "Not the arsehole. If this were men doing this to a woman, the repercussions would be far worse. The double standard is absolutely not okay." Baz Lightyear says, "You're not the arsehole. They just deflected it from them onto you because they know they got caught." And Lagomorpheme says, "Not the arsehole. That's so fucking gross. Honestly, the shit that service industry workers have to deal with is ridiculous. They were just salty that they got called out on it and tried, successfully, to turn around on you." Now, what would you do in this situation if you was OP and you called someone out and then you was getting it deflected back onto you? How would you deal with it? Would you literally just shout it out at them, or would you deal with it in a different way? Let me know in the comments what you would do, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 2. And our next story comes from a throwaway account. Am I the arse for reporting my son's doctor after she shared his medical information with my mother-in-law? My female 38 son, 9, has a medical condition. We're struggling so much trying to do everything we can to help him deal and cope with his condition. It's been difficult enough without my mother-in-law getting involved and making decisions without talking to me and my husband first. She completely disregarded our fears and concerns as parents and claims we don't know what's best for her grandson by trying to control doctor's appointments / arguing with doctors, criticising and telling them how to do their job, bringing medication that her friend doctor prescribed without even diagnosing my son. She'd get mad if we don't comply and do what she tells us. Her latest stunt was showing up at my son's appointment and making a scene, resulting in me and my husband going no contact and changing the clinic by having my son's medical file transferred to another clinic. My mother-in-law was removed from any emergency contact we had before we made it clear to the new doctor to not share our son's medical information. My mother-in-law kept trying to find out what clinic / which doctor our son goes to, and she tried to guilt trip my husband and also the family to pressure us into letting her know. No one realised the negative effect she had on my son's health and progress, and the family kept calling me awful and resentful because she just worried for her grandson. Last week I found out that my mother-in-law was at the clinic and was speaking to my son's paediatrician about my son's condition. My husband told me his mum called and his mum told him she was talking to the doctor discussing our son's condition. He told me he didn't want to speak to his mum, but she called to let him know that she has a right to take part in her grandson's care and that we shouldn't try to hide things from her since she eventually was able to find out. I was livid. I was so angry. I went to talk to the doctor about the conversation she had with my mother-in-law and the fact that she disclosed medical information after being told several times that this would cause us plenty of issues because of my mother-in-law's behaviour. Mother-in-law is already trying to get involved and I just couldn't take it. I reported the doctor and filed a HIPAA complaint. I was told to back off, but I couldn't take this massive lack of professionalism on the doctor's part and the fact that I'm now having to deal with my mother-in-law's attempt to control the situation. My mother-in-law spread the news about the doctor and the whole family was stunned, saying my bitterness jeopardised the doctor's career and that she only shared information with my son's grandmother, not some stranger. Also said that I'm not being focused on my son and choosing to start arguments instead. Basically made it look like it's my fault. I'm so tired and I can't take it anymore. My husband agrees that I shouldn't have filed a complaint, like he has no problem with his mother now showing up at the clinic and causing scenes. Now, we've had a couple of stories before where medical professionals, and I'm quite surprised, this must be about the 4th or 5th by now, medical professionals breaking HIPAA violations. And we know how huge this is, the huge implications it has on doctors and stuff like that. And they should absolutely not be sharing other patients' medical information. That's absolutely ridiculous, and I can't blame you for doing what you did. I think you should be doing what you did, because who knows how many other people they're going to be doing this to. And your mother-in-law sounds absolutely insane. I know she might be, in her head, she's doing what's best for her grandson, but holy crap, she needs to learn when to stand back. You need to cut contact until she learns some boundaries. But let's see what some of the comments says. Eleanor says, not the arsehole, HIPAA laws are a big deal, and your situation is exactly the kind they are there for. Princess of Perky says, not the arsehole, that's a huge violation. Honestly, you should go no contact and look into a restraining order. And OP replies, seriously, I'm done with all this pressure and exhaustion. She knows no boundaries and clearly thinks she's in some sort of competition here. Happy Tall Person says, absolutely not the arsehole. This person shouldn't be a doctor. In your case, this is a mother-in-law who is seriously inappropriate and abusive, but from what you have said, it is not out to actively harm your child. An assumption on my part, that's not definitely true. However, there are probably patients in the clinic's care who are genuinely hiding from the violent abuser. Excessive medical records to allow abuse to continue is a massive no-no. The doctor's lax attitude could literally kill people one day. And OP replies again saying, you're right with everything you said. I'm just glad there are some people who can actually see that her behaviour is just wrong. She has no regard for her grandson's health. If she cares even a little, she wouldn't be doing any of this. Now, I'm going to turn it to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation? Do you think OP was right to report this to the HIPAA board? Is it a board or is it I don't know what they call it. Were they right to report it to HIPAA? Or do you think she should have went, no, this is the grandmother, she should have the right to know? Obviously, I know which one you're probably going to choose, but I thought I'd throw that in there anyway. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 3. And our next story is from Bread Unlucky. Am I the arsehole for essentially telling my wife she is powerless? For a bit of backstory, my wife has CPTSD from childhood trauma, along with ASD and depression, so she is currently applying for disability. Without going into too many details, her dad was a huge piece of shit and had apparently threatened to end her and her siblings many times growing up. She'd been admitted into mental hospitals many times. We've been dating for 9 years and we both moved about 500 miles from our hometown 3 years ago. Now to the arsehole part. She was perusing Reddit and came across a post about a couple that had a huge financial difference between them. I said it seemed like the richer person has a higher power dynamic over their SO in the story, and we got into a slight argument about whether or not that power dynamic exists in relationships. She then asked me if I thought that way about our relationship. I kinda said, well, technically, I do pay all the bills, so in that sense, yes. If I was that kind of person, I'd have the power in this relationship. And she said something like, well, what if I just leave? And this is where I may be an arsehole. I laughed and kinda sarcastically said, oh yeah, with what money? How would you get 500 miles away? And she stuttered a bit before saying she'd ask her mum to send cash for train tickets. Okay, what if I just hid the mailbox key? And she kinda stuttered before she said, are you trying to make me sad? Tears were flowing down her face and she left the room. I honestly wasn't trying to hurt her, but I think I may have gone too far. If she genuinely wanted to break up, I would help her and none of what I said was true. I was more speaking hypothetically, and I feel like maybe once she calms down it won't even matter. She hasn't even been speaking to me, and when I asked her if I could help, she said, you can't help feeling completely powerless. I honestly feel bad, but I still think it's not that huge of a thing as she's making it out to be. We've been together for 9 years, she should know that I would never do that to her. So am I the arsehole Reddit? Edit. My wife has just texted me from our bedroom that she's feeling extremely anxious and having dark thoughts about living. I apologised to her for my outburst, but she didn't respond to that other than saying she thinks she wants to go to an inpatient hospital. I'm not going to lie and say I want her to go, but she says she really feels she needs it. She's packed a backpack of clothes and I'm going to drive her to ER so she can get evaluated. Won't be active in the sub anymore, might update after the fact. I truly feel horrible, but it's not about me right now. Edit 2, she's been admitted and will be there between 72 hours to 7 days, depending on the treatment plan. I feel genuinely heartbroken that I've made her feel this way unintentionally. Hopefully we can have some family sessions while she's an inpatient. Sorry for wasting everyone's time. You know yourself that your wife had a troubled childhood with her dad who you said was a huge piece of shit. You didn't go into details of what he did, but we can probably assume that at the very minimal he was controlling. You know the mental issues she struggles with the depression and things like that. For then you to go over this hypothetical situation with your wife and come across as like, yes, you would be completely powerless and I would sort of take control and you wouldn't have nowhere to go, and you pretty much dragged up probably a lot of memories for her. And I'd like to say I totally understand that where she's coming from, where she would be mentally when you're saying these things to her. Obviously I can't truly understand because I'm not in that situation, but I can imagine she's in a very, very dark place, especially what she was saying at the very end there. And you saying you've been together 9 years and she should know that you would never do that to her. Clearly she doesn't. Because of her past, she doesn't. It's probably a very warped reality for her in the way she deals with things. And for you to do that is absolutely insane, for you to joke about it. Wow, yes, you're the arsehole in this situation in my opinion, but let's have a look at some of the comments below to see what they say. Play by Paper says, you're the arsehole, Jesus Christ, that's terrifying for a woman to hear if she's mentally healthy, let alone a woman struggling with mental and emotional trauma or grief. I understand we make mistakes, but I'd definitely apologise very genuinely and make clear you'd never have intentions of doing anything like it. A girl named Sue2 says, and quotes, she should know I'd never do that to her. And then says, but you believe you could, right? That means you think you'd have the power, just that you chose to be kind to her. I mean, you are kind to kids too, but that doesn't make them equal to the parents. You're the arsehole. You guys weren't discussing kindness. You were discussing who holds the cards and you made it very clear that it's you. Mind Control Manatee says, why'd you find it necessary to do that? What was supposed to be the outcome? You're the arsehole. And Winter Bunny says, you're the arsehole. Dude, you told a woman who spent her childhood under a controlling father that she couldn't go anywhere because she didn't have the money to leave you. Barring the fact that this is a real thing women have to deal with throughout history. A lot of women stay with abusive men for this very reason. Your wife had to personally deal with it. You know this. You've been there to help her and you joke about it. What the hell, man? And in quotes, we've been together 9 years. She should know I'd never done that to her. This is a nonsensical statement because people who have been together longer than you both have up and get divorced because one of them changed. You saying she should know something without giving her a reason to is terrible, because joking or not, you gave her a reason to think the exact opposite, and now you're on here trying to say that it wasn't a big deal. And Sunlit Fable says, "You're the arsehole. Reading that was horrifying, and I honestly have a hard time believing you didn't mean it, considering your laughter and how casual you were about telling her just how trapped she could be if things went south. You need to apologise." Now, what would you do in this situation? If you was the wife, how would you deal with that? Would you even consider divorce after he's talking this way? Do you believe him? Because some of the things he was saying sounded like, you know, he really does believe he has the power if he wanted to. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 4. Once again, guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you did enjoy today's stories, and if you did, you know what to do. Hit that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. A huge thank you to each and every one of you for being here, and I will see you, hopefully if you enjoyed, in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.